Tonight, the world is watching footage that has left even the most seasoned Pentagon officials speechless. In a war defined by attrition, stalemates, and incremental advances, Ukraine has just rewritten the rules in a single blinding moment. The question echoing through the corridors of power in Washington, Moscow, and every NATO capital is simple. How did Ukraine do this? How did a country fighting for its survival, outgunned and outnumbered, manage to unleash a weapon so advanced, so precise, that it obliterated a Russian base once thought untouchable? The answer, as we'll see tonight, is as much about ingenuity and resolve as it is about technology. And the implications are seismic. Let's set the scene. For months, Russia has relied on a network of heavily fortified bases deep behind the front lines, hubs that serve as the nerve centers for logistics, command, and supply. These are not makeshift outposts. These are sprawling complexes, bristling with air defenses, ringed by electronic jamming, and guarded by layers of concrete and steel. Russian commanders believed these bases were safe, insulated from the chaos of the front. They believed their air defenses were impenetrable, their locations secret, their operations secure. That belief ended in a flash of light and a wall of fire. The footage, now circulating across global news networks and social media, is nothing short of astonishing. It begins with a silent, almost eerie night vision images of the Russian base, its perimeter lights glowing, vehicles moving in and out, soldiers on patrol. Then, in a split second, everything changes. A missile, flying so low and so fast it barely registers on thermal cameras, streaks across the sky. There's no warning, no siren, no scramble of defenses. The impact is immediate and catastrophic. A fireball erupts, followed by a shockwave that flattens buildings, flips armored vehicles, and sends debris hurtling hundreds of meters. Within seconds, secondary explosions ripple through the base as ammunition stores ignite, sending plumes of smoke and fire into the night sky. What makes this strike different is not just the scale of destruction, but the surgical precision. Analysts who have reviewed the footage frame by frame say the missile hit the exact center of the base's command complex, a target buried beneath reinforced concrete, protected by multiple layers of defense. The blast collapsed the main operations building, severed communications, and triggered a chain reaction that destroyed fuel depots, drone workshops, and ammunition bunkers. In less than a minute, a facility that had taken years to build was reduced to a smoldering ruin. And here's where the story takes a turn that has left military experts reeling. This was not a lucky shot. This was not a fluke. This was the debut of a new American weapon, one that had been quietly transferred to Ukraine, tested in secret, and deployed with a level of skill that stunned even the Pentagon. According to sources familiar with the operation, Ukrainian forces received the system only days before the strike. US trainers expected a learning curve, a period of adjustment, maybe even a few missteps. Instead, Ukraine's operators mastered the weapon almost overnight, integrating it into their targeting protocols and executing a mission that would challenge even the most advanced militaries in the world. The Pentagon's reaction was immediate and unfiltered. Senior officials, briefed on the strike within hours, described the footage as jaw-dropping. One high-ranking defense analyst told us, "We knew the system was good. We did not expect it to be this effective, this soon." Another official, who helped oversee the transfer of the weapon, admitted, "The Ukrainians have taken what we gave them and pushed it to a level we didn't anticipate. This is a game changer. But what exactly is this weapon?" Officially, neither Ukraine nor the United States is confirming details. The Pentagon has issued carefully worded statements, refusing to name the system or discuss its capabilities. Ukrainian officials are even more tight-lipped, offering only cryptic acknowledgements and letting the results speak for themselves. But defense analysts, piecing together clues from the footage and satellite imagery, believe Ukraine has just fielded a next-generation precision missile, possibly an extended-range variant, possibly a hybrid system that fuses US targeting intelligence with Ukrainian battlefield data. Whatever it is, it's clear that Russia was not prepared. Contrast that with the Russian response. Within minutes of the strike, chaos erupted across Russian military channels. Commanders scrambled to re-establish contact with the base, only to find communications dead. Emergency teams rushed to the scene, but the devastation was so complete that rescue operations were abandoned in several sectors. Russian mill bloggers, usually quick to spin setbacks as minor, were uncharacteristically blunt. "This is a disaster," one wrote. "If the Americans have given Ukraine more of these, we are in serious trouble." Another, with close ties to the Kremlin, posted, "Our air defenses failed, our intelligence failed, our leadership failed. This cannot happen again." Inside the Kremlin, the mood was described as tense and combative. President Putin, according to sources, demanded immediate answers. How did Ukraine know the base's exact layout? How did the missile evade every layer of defense? How could a single strike cause so much damage? Russian generals, already under pressure from months of setbacks, found themselves facing a new and terrifying reality. The deep rear is no longer safe. The illusion of sanctuary has been shattered, and that's the real story tonight. This isn't just about a single base or a single weapon or even a single battle. This is about a fundamental shift in the balance of power. For the first time since the war began, Ukraine has demonstrated the ability to strike at the heart of Russia's military infrastructure, quickly, precisely, and with devastating effect. The message to Moscow is unmistakable. Nowhere is safe, nothing is untouchable, and the old rules no longer apply. As the world digests the footage, the implications are rippling far beyond the battlefield. NATO officials are hailing the strike as a breakthrough, a proof that Western support is not just symbolic but transformative. European leaders, long wary of escalating the conflict, are now openly discussing the possibility of sending even more advanced systems to Ukraine. In Washington, lawmakers who once questioned the wisdom of arming Ukraine with cutting-edge technology are now demanding to know how soon more can be delivered, but perhaps the most telling reaction comes from Ukraine itself. There are no victory parades, no triumphant speeches, no boasts on social media. Instead, Ukrainian officials are silent, focused, and resolute. They know that this strike is not the end, but the beginning of a new phase in the war. A phase where the initiative is shifting, where Russia must now play defense, and where every base, every depot, every command post is a potential target. As dawn broke over the smoldering ruins of the Russian base, the world's intelligence agencies were already dissecting every frame of the footage, every intercepted radio call, every satellite image. The Pentagon's analysts, who have spent years tracking the evolution of this war, found themselves recalibrating their models in real time. The strike was not just a tactical victory, it was a strategic earthquake. For months, Western officials had debated whether Ukraine could absorb and effectively use the most advanced American systems. Now, with a single, devastating blow, Ukraine had answered that question more emphatically than anyone could have imagined. The contrast between the two militaries could not be starker. On one side, Russia, with its legacy of Soviet doctrine, its reliance on massed artillery, and its belief in depth as a shield. On the other, Ukraine, leaner, more agile, and now armed with a weapon that renders old assumptions obsolete. The Russian base was supposed to be a symbol of Moscow's enduring strength, a fortress built to withstand siege, sabotage, and even missile attack. Instead, it became a symbol of vulnerability, a warning to every Russian commander that the battlefield has changed and that the old playbook no longer applies. Inside Ukraine, the mood is one of quiet determination. Military officials, speaking on background, describe the operation as the culmination of months of planning, intelligence gathering, and relentless training. The decision to wait for the perfect moment, when the base was at its busiest, when high-value targets were present, when the impact would be maximized, was not just tactical brilliance, but psychological warfare. The message to Russia was clear: we know where you are, we know what you're doing, and we can strike when it matters most. The psychological impact on Russian forces has been immediate and profound. Reports from the front lines describe a sudden, palpable sense of unease. Commanders are ordering the dispersal of troops, the relocation of supply depots, the hardening of command posts, but these are reactive measures, born of fear rather than strategy. The knowledge that a single missile can erase months of preparation, that no base is truly safe, is eroding morale in ways that no propaganda can repair. Russian soldiers, already stretched thin and battered by months of grinding combat, are now forced to look over their shoulders, wondering if the next explosion will come without warning. Meanwhile, in Washington, the debate has shifted. For months, there were voices cautioning restraint, warning that the transfer of advanced weapons could provoke escalation or fall into the wrong hands. But the success of this strike has silenced many of those doubts. Lawmakers and defense officials are now asking how quickly more systems can be sent, how training can be accelerated, how Ukraine's newfound edge can be expanded. The Pentagon's internal assessments, once cautious, now speak openly of a window of opportunity, a chance to press the advantage, to force Russia onto the defensive, to reshape the trajectory of the war. Yet, for all the celebration in Western capitals, there is a sober recognition that this moment is as dangerous as it is promising. Russia's response has been swift and angry. The Kremlin has accused the United States of direct involvement, warning of unpredictable consequences. State media is in overdrive, alternately downplaying the damage and threatening retaliation. But behind the bluster, there is a sense of desperation. Russian generals are demanding new air defense systems, new countermeasures, new strategies. But these are not solutions that can be conjured overnight. The gap between what Russia needs and what it can deliver is growing wider by the day. For Ukraine, the challenge now is to sustain the momentum. The temptation to strike again, to press the advantage, is strong. But military officials are acutely aware that each use of this new weapon carries risks, of escalation, of countermeasures, of revealing too much about their capabilities. The decision to keep details secret, to let the footage speak for itself, is a calculated move. It keeps Russia guessing, keeps the world watching, and preserves the element of surprise for future operations. The broader implications are only beginning to be understood. Across Europe, military planners are rethinking the nature of modern warfare. The era of static defenses, of deep rear sanctuaries, is over. The ability to combine real-time intelligence, precision weaponry, and rapid decision-making has changed the calculus for every military on the continent. NATO officials are already discussing how to adapt their own doctrines, how to integrate lessons from Ukraine's success, how to ensure that their forces are never caught off guard in the same way. And yet, for all the technology, for all the strategy, the heart of this story is human. It is the story of Ukrainian soldiers who learned to operate a complex new system in days, not months. It is the story of intelligence officers who pieced together the patterns of Russian logistics, who waited for the perfect moment, who risked everything to deliver a blow that would echo around the world. It is the story of a nation that refuses to be intimidated, that turns every setback into an opportunity, that finds strength in adversity. As the smoke clears and the world takes stock, one thing is certain: the war in Ukraine has entered a new phase. The introduction of this new American weapon is not just a tactical shift, it is a strategic inflection point. Russia can no longer assume that its rear areas are safe. Every base, every depot, every command post is now a potential target. The psychological impact alone is incalculable. For the first time, Russian commanders must plan for the possibility that the next strike could come at any time, from any direction, with devastating precision. Tonight, as we watch the footage again, as we listen to the stunned voices of Russian soldiers, as we read the urgent memos circulating in the Pentagon, we are witnessing more than just the destruction of a base. We are witnessing the birth of a new era in warfare, one defined not by numbers, but by innovation, not by brute force, but by agility, not by fear, but by resolve. Ukraine has shown the world what is possible when courage meets capability, when determination is matched by support, when the will to fight is backed by the tools to win. The message to Moscow is clear: the old rules no longer apply. The message to Washington and its allies is equally clear: Support for Ukraine is not just a moral imperative, but a strategic investment. And the message to the world is perhaps the most important of all. In the face of aggression, in the shadow of overwhelming odds, it is still possible to change the course of history. As the Pentagon reviews every frame, as Russian commanders scramble to adapt, as Ukraine quietly prepares for what comes next, the world holds its breath. The battlefield has changed. The balance of power has shifted. And tonight, for the first time in a long time, hope is on the offensive.